Dear Heavenly Father, let's thank you for this day that we can come together and do people's business and guide and direct us that we might make good decisions. Look over the folks overseas in harm's way and all of our families here at home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Moving down, we need approval for the September 14th regular session meetings.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on down to reports.
We can do roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, it's back up there. Roll call, please.
Curtis Snell,
Here.
Chris Stokes,
Here.
Bill Anglin,
Here.
Bill John Baker,
Here.
Jack Baker,
Here.
Harley Buzzard,
Here.
Julia Coates, Bradley Cobb, Joe Crittenden,
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk, here, Meredith Fraley, here, Janelle Fulbright, here, Don Garvin,
Aye.
Chuck Hoskins Jr.,
Here.
China Gloria Jordan, David Thornton, Kara Cowan Watts, John Masters.
Two.
We have a quorum.
Now we need approval of the minutes. So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now we move to the reports. Management Resources, Angela Drew.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. You've all got my report in your packet, and I don't have any additional information to add this month, so I'll take any questions that you have.
Do we have any questions for Angela? Yes, Mr. Buzzard.
Angela, I know that through your department they do land acquisition or buy properties, and I'm not sure how they do this, but I would like to, and I don't know how the other committee members feel about it, but I would like to see what we're given for land. And I know a lot of this is proprietary information, and I guess you could give it to us that way. But I'd like to go back and see the land purchases for starting to pay 2008 forward.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is I'd be interested to see. I don't know if any other committee members would like to see that or not, but I certainly would like to see some of the information.
And do you want that for funding source? Because we have the riverbed dollars, we have the Nahaska dollars. Do you want to see it
Yeah,
for
if you could break it out that way, that would be great. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Fisher.
And I just got the thing that we was talking about the, can you explain to me some of that?
Sure. You're aware of our capital improvement plan, and there was a line item in that improvement plan for complex renovations, or I believe it specifically says on your on the CIP budget, and I think you guys have seen the breakdown of that. It is for hallway and restroom paint and renovations. So basically what that bid is that we sent out so that we could get some budget numbers off of is for a new multimedia package for the council chambers, for the entranceway, and the hallways throughout the complex. And so I gave you an email that had a breakdown of what all that multimedia package consisted of. And we still don't know what the price is going to be on that, and that's one of the reasons we sent it out to bid. Is in the CIP, there's $345,000 in that line item. When we send in a requisition when we send in a bid, a request for bid, we must attach what we think the estimate is for that, because that determines how procurement lets that bid. And so we worked with IS on getting the specs, and they also helped us with what the estimate might be for all of that stuff, and they said it could be somewhere around $250,000. So that's what we put on the bid when we sent it in, so that they had an idea. But that doesn't mean that that's what it's going to come back in at. And on the last two paragraphs of that email that I sent you, it also says that we have the right, once those bids come in, to look at them and determine what portion of those things we let for bid that we want to procure. It doesn't mean that when the bid comes back, we have to buy all those things. We're trying to get an idea of what the cost for them is going to be, and then we'll determine when those come in, if there's some of it that's more than we want to pay for, or if we want to, rebid certain parts of that.
Okay, so it can be up to $345,000 for the, is that what you're saying? No?
No. The $345,000 included, yes, and it included painting, it included other things besides just this multimedia.
The
And
$250,000 is the multimedia part.
could be,
And this is for the council chambers?
yes, it includes the council chambers. It's not the council chambers by itself. It's the council chambers, it's the entranceway into the complex, and all the hallways. Anywhere where there used to be a television hanging, we will be replacing those with, and I gave you the specs on what type of, and I don't remember because I don't have that in front of me, but I gave you the specs. There'll be 4 flat screen LCD 40 millimeter screens that will then be hooked up to a system that has a message scrolling, and I don't know what all the message is. I mean, that'll be done through communications and leadership. And
Can you tell me where y'all stand on this next month, if it's y'all gonna release it to bid, or if we're really gonna do it or not? I'd
sure,
like to know.
yeah.
Thank you.
Angela, what about the Blow Hollow Community Building? How do we go about getting that renovated? Or can it be?
You talking about the old
The old,
WPA
mhm.
school?
There used to be a, yeah, yes.
I guess we would just have to determine where the funds might be, which we could discuss that with C&E Cultural Tourism, because that seems like that may be one of the locations that they may assist us in getting renovated. But I guess we would need to have someone go out and make an assessment of it, and we need to determine what it is we would want to do with it, first of all, to determine the type of renovations we would make to the building. So do we have an idea of a use for it?
Just for the community building, what it was originally, well, that wasn't what it was originally built for, but that's what it was used for over the years.
So the community has displayed some interest in that being a community building? I would think there might be, and I don't know for sure, but the community could come in and put in an application, I would think, through community services to get some ICDBG funds. That could be one source of funding to help get it renovated. But I can start checking into that for you.
Councilman Baker.
That grounds would be a real good place for campers and stuff to set up tents and stuff in hunt season. That's all.
Councilman Butler.
And yeah, I think Curtis, Angie had actually said what I thought about it is, as far as culture and tourism goes. I think it's a historical building there. It was built by WPA back in 1938. And there's some more grounds just up the hall. I think Councilman Watt had actually looked at it one time, where they had built fire pits and had camping storage just up the hall from that Jewel Hall Community Building. So historically, it's got a lot of history behind the thing, so they may be interested in taking a look at it. So I'd like for them to do that. Also, I had asked, I don't know if it was you or Diane Kelly, they were going to put some stuff over those windows, and the last time I was down there, it wasn't done, I think. If you check on it for us.
I know I had addressed that with my staff, and they were going to go down to Dotson Roberts to see if they couldn't get some of the material
Yeah, there's some small.
from out of there to do that, and most of the stuff had already been dispersed out into the communities through community services. So let me visit with Diane, and I will get together on that and see if we can partner on getting it done.
We have more questions for Angela?
I just wanted to say, for those of you that I brought some maps, there's some of the maps that I don't know if they fell out because they were smaller maps that actually gave acreage and some additional information, so I will get those to you.
Any more questions for Angela? Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Report. Real Estate Services, Linda Dawson.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Councilman. You have my report, and I also wanted to state that in the little plastic bags we passed out, those were some of the materials that we had reported that we had done on pamphlets that we were going to be taking out to the communities, like, do you need a will, is there a probate needed, that general questions that people ask that they want answers to, so we put them in the brochures.
Yes, ma'am.
You'll be sure and bring those tomorrow night?
Yes, we'll have
Because
those tomorrow
I
night.
have seen some of these pamphlets, those are excellent information to give out to the constituents.
Yeah, we took the base of it from what the Oklahoma Bar Association started with, and then started from that, and then went in and put in our actual information.
I had a few, just one other question.
Yes,
Steve.
go ahead.
You were very kind to send me that lease on the Ramona property. Linda, has things changed with the National Gaming Commission where now we can lease individual restricted property? Because I was thinking a couple of years ago, we were unable to do that.
You can if it's going to be our C&E, our gaming arm that does it.
Okay, as long as it's not us.
Right.
Okay.
It can't be individuals because as you know, our legislative act provides that only our Cherokee Nation Enterprises, or I guess what they're calling themselves is Cherokee Nation Entertainment, can now do the leasing of that.
And that will be appropriate, and the National Gaming Commission will let them place a casino there?
Yes, they will. And in fact, they have already looked at it. It has basically passed the approval stage at central office, and it is now back in the Muskogee regional office. So we're looking to see it any day.
Okay, thank you.
Council Lady Fishing Hawk.
I missed the meeting this morning. Can you tell me something about it?
Okay, the easement
The full blood,
situation,
yeah.
the section line opening. Okay, as we had discussed, we do not have a survey that was done by a federal surveyor as yet. We asked for a 2-week continuance, like we had discussed over the phone, because the federal surveyor that's been approved, the whole family went on a hunting trip, Colorado. So we asked for a continuance. The commissioners made a determination that they thought it had been going on long enough, that this family was willing to go by whatever survey that the Cherokee Nation provided, and decided to go ahead and just let them have it. I made no protest and said we were not ready to agree at this time, but they decided to go ahead and do it anyway.
I got a question, Linda, because that bothers me. This guy, I know him very well. I know the whole family. They're full blood. It's original allotment. He's not going to go out and hire a lawyer. He's not able to, and he probably wouldn't anyway. He's maintained, you know, how much of that yard would you say it's taken?
If you're going 16 feet off section line, that's going to go probably that much into his yard.
He's maintained that all this time. This is where the whole family, like I said, it's original allotment. He is a full blood. And I don't know how Joe feels, but why don't we turn this over to the solicitor's office and let them fight with him? I don't want him to give him any land. It's his.
Okay.
And I don't see why the county commissioners can tell us we have to.
We can look at it from that aspect, but I understand that they're also going to try to stay back off from that restricted landowners as much as they can.
I know them people. They don't do it.
Yeah. So we're going to see where it goes from here.
And
But
the
I'll
people
keep you informed on what's
The
happening.
people at Swanton's are not a bit Cherokee. They're not any Indian period.
No, they're not.
I just hate the thought of one of our full bloods losing the original allotment so they can, I'm kind of like you, I'm tired of the people buying cheap land that's landlocked and then petition to get access to it
Right.
and tripling the value of their land. It's a cheap
Mhm.
way to go.
Mhm.
Sorry way to go. So could you see what the solicitor could do with it?
Okay, I'll check on that.
Okay. And the two trespassers that received the letters, did they vacate yet, or is there time out, or?
That would be, you're talking about the one in, these are both in Delaware County. One's receiving he's been notified that we're locking the gate on him Wednesday. And he's stating that he has basically worked with us up to a point, but we hadn't seen that yet. So we're going to investigate that. When we go out to lock the gate, we'll go out and see if he did what he said he did. So far, we're not sure that he did. So we will go up with him and check that out. But for all intents and purposes, we plan to lock the gate on Wednesday. And he's been notified ahead of time. He knows what's happening. So the other one, we are preparing our packet for the solicitor to say that we have given him his certified mail. He's not done anything. We had a meeting with him, I believe. Chairman Snell was actually at the meeting with Mr. Starr. And he was supposed to get a survey done. He did not do the survey. He contended that he was in the right. We said we would pay for a survey if he was if he was right, we'd pay for his survey.
Okay, then
But we believe he's wrong.
And then the pass.
So that time has elapsed, and he's not done a thing. And in fact, he invited us to use his corral.
Okay, Facet, can you tell me how that's going?
Facet is, we have one issue that we can't quite iron out just yet. They were asking for a waiver of sovereign immunity, and we're saying that we can't give him a sovereign immunity unless it comes before the council. And that is one thing that they're putting in the lease and that we're trying to get stricken out. So that's the holdup on the Facet lease.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Buzzer.
You've answered one of the questions I was going to ask Linda, but the other thing that concerns me on trespassing, and specifically the one up in Delaware County near Kenwood, my question is, are we handling all trespassers equally? And what I mean by that, do we have other people that are trespassing on trust lands that are not receiving the same letter that the person in Kenwood is receiving?
We are trying to treat them equally, but we're taking them one at a time.
Well,
And
it doesn't-
starting with the most egregious first,
And starting with the what?
the worst ones.
My concern is, if we're going to do it, then I say we need to do it 100% and not pick on 2 or 3 people that we think we need to do it on first. Because I can show you some more property that people are traveling on that are trust property. And this person in Kenwood, I had a meeting with him the other day and talked to him. And I don't know, I read the articles that you sent to me, and it does sound like you give him some options, so I'd be curious to find out after Wednesday when you talk to him to see what the agreement is.
Okay.
I guess
And,
I have things that I hate to see happen to people, even though that he probably knew they didn't have right of way when he went to it, so that's one thing against him. The other thing is that he's there. He has a wife, he's got 3 kids. They're within the community, and it's just like there's got to be something we can work out with this family.
And that's what we had been trying to do. We were trying to have him move his roadway. It would still cross Cherokee Nation land, but it would be a shorter, like within 600 feet instead of taking 4,000 feet.
Yeah, I saw that in your report, and I thought that was a good gesture. He probably should have taken us up on the deal. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I hate for him to come back and say, well, you're treating me a lot different than you're treating other trespassers, which sound like we are. So I just feel like if we're gonna do it for one, we need to do it for everybody. And we need to start sending letters out and tell them they need to start finding right of way to their property. It's just like, I don't want to treat somebody else different than I'm treating anybody else. So that's the point I want to make, you know. If we're gonna do one, we need to do them all. I'm suggesting.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Councilman Jordan?
Linda, on the first issue that was brought up by Councilor Fishing Hawk, where you're getting a survey,
Yes.
what directions are we given to the surveyor? They said that the county said they would accept our survey.
That's correct.
Are we giving the surveyor, which, when you said they all went hunting, is that Bo?
Yes.
Okay. When you give him the directions of how to do the survey, are we asking him to survey out the area that's obviously maintained by the individual landowner?
We are looking at it from the section line opening standpoint as to where that actual,
16 feet is?
Right.
On either side of the line?
they
Well,
would
then-
have to determine the line and then move out the 16 feet on each side.
Okay. But how will that help our full blood?
It will actually help him to have a better road to his home. He goes down another path, which unfortunately I believe he is a trespasser as well,
Is he-
because of the way that he is now accessing his home. He doesn't have an easement to his place.
But is he going to lose the yard that he has maintained
He
in
will.
this process?
He will lose a part of it, and yet some of what he's using as a yard has been Cherokee Nation trust land as well. So basically what he's losing is some of that.
Does
But we're
he
trying to look
realize
at-
what we've agreed, does he realize what all y'all have agreed to though?
He has come into the office and has visited with Joe Dean about the situation and was shown what was happening as to the maps. We also had the survey that was done by the Williamses family, and we did not agree with that survey. That survey seemed to be off by several feet, and that's one of the reasons why we ended up having to do a survey as well, because we didn't agree with their survey.
When you say it's off several feet, are they taking in more than 16 foot off the center line?
It's
or
all,
is
the center line is
the
off.
center line's off, okay, it's coming more onto
Right, it's coming
Or
more on to his that
property
restricted
than you
his
thought it
property.
should.
Right.
Okay. I mean, is he aware that if he wants to claim adverse possession, that he could seek advice of an attorney and possibly sue everybody involved and allege adverse possession on the yard part?
Mr. Van, he's coming over on Cherokee Nation's land partly on that.
No, on the
For
16,
the 16
on
feet?
16 feet.
For his doing a section line opening,
Mhm.
it would not, it shouldn't work that way.
Well, there's some case law where they have successfully sued on adverse possession on those section line openings. And I'm just wondering if he's, of course, if he's not going to get an attorney, there's not much we can do unless there's something that the solicitor would want to do on his behalf, but technically that wouldn't be restricted property, his restricted property. So they're
Right.
probably not going to want to get involved in it if it's not his own individual restricted property.
Right. So I will take it up with the solicitor to check to see what stance that he would have. But I do know that Oklahoma did adopt the section line policies that was in place.
Well, I know what they adopted, but I know what the courts are doing, because we've had at least 2 cases over in Muskogee where they've let them adversely possess against the section line opening, which I think, they just followed adverse possession law. But it has set precedents that he might want to take advantage of.
Right. And that could be something
Because
that,
those was in front of Edmondson, I believe, and he's now on the Supreme Court. I wouldn't think he'd rule against himself.
I think you're right on that one. Okay, but we will look into that further to see how that's going to affect our restricted landowner.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Linda? Thank you, Mr. Allison.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on, environmental programs, Tom Elkins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen. I forgot to open this. I think you have a copy of our report. I won't belabor it much except to say that even though this is a new fiscal year, we're still continuing the numbers from last year, following up, and you can see that we've hit 144%, 97, and actually 240% of the goal on that. We had a whole run on radon tests this last year, and so we provided them to everyone that asked for them, and it was a very successful deal. We didn't have to pay for any of those. We got them from EPA and actually got the analysis done too, so it was a very good deal. Not too many other things on our report, except a reiteration at the bottom that the EPC did amend that permit for the landfill. And then I don't know if you've got notification or not, but so far the landfill is planning to open next month. And I do know that they're inviting you all to an open house the first part of next month, and then they're planning on opening, I believe that second or the first full week. I believe it's on the 9th. But if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Any questions for Tom? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Tom, where are we on the gas station or for the natural gas stuff?
We had my last report at the Resources Committee. We had 10 projects for the Department of Energy money. 2 were compressed natural gas filling stations, one here at the Outpost and one at Roland. And there was a third construction project, and that is that we're working with Angie's group in. They're actually doing the building of a recycling center here on the campus. Those 3 projects, because they're major construction, well, they're construction of some sorts, they're holding them up for NEPA clearance, and they won't allow us to, you know how like Indian Health Service and HUD give us the authority to do that. They have to do that paperwork, and they haven't got us the information that they want yet. But as soon as that's done, we're getting the money. It's just we have to wait until that's done.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Tom? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, probably do this.
Looking for an email.
Yeah.
Tom, on this IMAC company that's coming in Bryan and trying to put that injection well system.
Saltwater injection? Yes, sir.
The letter that y'all wrote was great.
Thank you.
And
I'll give the credit for that to Mr. Callison.
we had the hearing
Last week.
last week, I think it was Thursday. But that hearing, whatever the judge decides, I'm just wondering, are we planning on taking that on and fighting that?
We can. I believe it's more futile than anything. The regulations are set, and as long as they meet those regulations, they can do it. And the only recourse we really have is if there's a problem down the line. They put good science behind it. I'm not saying the science isn't there. Usually you don't run into any impacts unless it's a mom and pop injection. The commercial drilling wells, injection wells, really, nobody wants to see those. But all in all, I mean, if you have to have them, and you do with any kind of oil production, they're better than the mom and pop ones because they're regulated more, they have more watchdogs, they're inspected more.
That really doesn't stop. In other words, they told us they didn't have to have inspection.
They do every year.
And
A commercial one, they have to be inspected annually like that by the Corporation Commission. Now, many times it is a windshield inspection. They just don't have enough inspectors. So what we have to do is, on things like that, be our own inspectors and go by there now and again. And if they're doing anything, report them.
there's known wells such as this that did contaminate different areas.
I can't say that they're not. It's just usually the contamination isn't because of the drilling part, it's because they spilled the contamination on the surface. 99% of the time, that's where the contamination falls. And with the commercial injection wells, that's usually not the case.
Well, if they're injecting into that saltwater system, into that vault down there,
Yes.
and there's already salt water coming up in the area, it's more than likely that whatever they inject into that will come up.
No. The way it's done, I mean, the science behind it is really good.
I mean, if you already have a stream in that area, that's salt water.
It's not a stream so much. Below, very far below the earth, all water.
I know of two
salt.
streams. I know of one that's a creek that had saltwater works on it in the 1850s.
Yeah.
And I know of one that's a branch that had saltwater works on it in the early 1900s.
Well, I mean, it's
There's
like
already
saline.
saltwater coming up out of that vault.
Certainly.
Okay. If they put pressure on there, then it's going to cost more, isn't it?
Not really.
They have to cap it and put it under pressure and put it down there. And that's
It's
exactly
usually
what
about a mile deep.
That's exactly what Kerr McGee got into. Same thing.
You can. They usually don't with those kind of wells. I've never seen one. That doesn't mean it doesn't. But I've been around them quite a bit.
I was told that there was one in Wichita that did.
It may well.
10 miles north of Wichita and come up and destroyed trees and whatever 4 miles south of
It is. I do remember that. And that was around. There's actually a salt dome there, and they were injecting water. That is different than salt water. There's actually a salt brine, an intrusion of physical salt under that area, and they're pumping water under there. So it's a little bit different situation, but I know that story. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it killed all the plants around there too. It's a different
Do we
situation,
not have
but
any
it's
water
certainly a
rights
concern.
as far as groundwater?
Oh, certainly. And we're developing those as we speak.
Then
But,
those chemicals that they're pumping in there would be pumping into our water rights.
It could be looked at that way, yes, sir.
And if it happens to surface, which it has, then
It's
those
almost
chemicals
irreparable.
would be surfacing and running into our streams.
Certainly. It sure would. And the biggest concern is not so much the streams as it is the soil. Because if you've ever seen saltwater contamination on the ground, it's just barren. It's nothing.
It's like taking a block of salt and putting them out there. And then
Pretty much. It'll kill everything. Sure will.
So,
And the remediation for that's very expensive.
yeah.
And it's not good at best. Yeah. Yes, sir?
Well, it's my opinion we need to fight this thing.
We can look into
I
that.
don't know about the rest of the council, but it is.
Let me look further into the, with the AG and
They didn't come out
with a decision. No,
with a
sir.
decision, yeah.
No, they did on the other one down by Muskogee.
Yeah.
And it was final on that. And for the most part, I knew they would.
I don't think they fought it as much down there as what this bunch is fighting.
Well, it was vocal. I mean, there were at least 3 people besides us at the Oklahoma City meeting on that. And I could just tell from the way the judge, it's an administrative law judge that hears those. He's an attorney. And I think his mind was pretty well made up. They followed the state's procedures for that.
What is really bothering me is that they're bringing this in from Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
Arkansas had these and developed a law saying you can't dump in our state anymore. So they're bringing this from Arkansas over into Oklahoma and dumping. And it's just ridiculous to me that we're letting this go on. But anyway, I think the nation needs to fight.
Okay. I will look into it more, sir. And I'll let you know, give you an idea by the next meeting of what our opinion is of being able to do something like that.
So thank you.
Councilman Cobb?
A lot of that stuff up in Osage County, was that because it was done way back
And I mean, if you've ever looked in Seminole County for surface area surface area has more injection wells than about anywhere in the country, and their groundwater's gone. But that was mainly because it wasn't commercial. There were a lot of mom and pop wells, and whenever you produce oil, you're going to have production water, and it's always salt water. It just is. That's the nature of the game. And they have to put it somewhere, and they inject it back in the ground. Played out wells, they just put it under pressure. And years ago, rather than pressurizing it and putting it down deep, because it costs more to do that, they just injected whatever well they could get it under pressure, and then capped it and walked off. And they didn't cap it well back in the 20s and 30s, and most of the time, much of that land over there was Indian land at the time. And it's like our land that, you know, when we had allotments here and then people had other allotments over there that they didn't go to, they'd just go out there and just turn a tanker truck loose and spread it because nobody was there. And next time I saw it, that land was ruined. And much of it's ended up that way, and it's still that way.
Councilman Garvin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tom, how many wells does Cherokee Nation have?
I don't know. I do know that we have a measure of oil wells, and we do have a measure of injection wells. We have our own.
Thank you.
Councilman David?
Having wells, injection wells, doesn't mean it's right.
No, sir. No, sir. Not. Well, what's right? I mean, I'm not deciding if it's right. I'm just, is it an issue? Certainly it is.
Well, it's an issue in our district because we don't have any oil wells.
Sure.
Any more questions for Tom?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Sir. Moving on to old business, I see none. New business, I see none. Have any announcements?
Of course, I want to do.
Next meeting was set for November 16th, 4 o'clock. Here in
Move to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All opposed?
You ain't know he was raised.
Yeah, it is.